A few days later, after finishing all the paperwork, I packed my things and left my in-laws' house. I told my mother-in-law I was leaving today and gave her a polite bow. She glared at me and said, "You've been a terrible wife and mother, from the beginning to the end." Then she accused me of being the worst mother for leaving my kids. I couldn't believe how cruel she was. My kids, Josh and Amy, laughed when they heard what she said. My name is Maria, I'm 42 years old, and I'm a housewife. I live with my husband, Ken, and our 2 kids, Josh and Amy. Our kids are growing up well, and Ken works hard, so everything was peaceful. But things changed recently. My father-in-law passed away, and my mother-in-law moved in with us. Ken, being her only son, felt bad about her being alone, so he decided she would move in without asking me. I always thought he was too attached to his mom, but I didn't expect him to make such a big decision without talking to me. When I objected, he said, "Are you asking me to leave my mom with nowhere to go?" And I had no choice but to agree. After that, it felt like living in a nightmare. My mother-in-law had always disliked me, and now she found every chance to criticize me. "Maria, what's the seasoning for this?" "Oh, I'm sorry, I'll be more careful. I don't like greasy food." "Well, the kids are growing fast, and Ken likes fried food too. Then just make a separate meal for me. I don't want to eat unhealthy food and die early." "I'd love to, but it would cost more and be a hassle." "That's where you come in. Ken makes enough money, so you should be able to handle the finances. You're so spoiled." When I was young, I did all the housework by myself, no matter how hard it was. It's sad that my grandchildren have to live in a house run by such a lazy mother. I wanted to say, if you have so much to complain about, why don't you do it? But I held back because if I said anything, Ken would get really angry with me. At first, I tried to stand up to her, but she would always tell Ken, and then he would yell at me, saying, "How dare you talk to her like that when I'm the one supporting you?" I thought about getting a divorce, but as a stay-at-home mom, I couldn't take care of the kids on my own. They are everything to me, and I didn't want to lose them. So, I decided to keep quiet and put up with it. Instead of just enduring it, I started planning for a divorce little by little. I applied for jobs at different companies while my mother-in-law watched me all day. Only one company offered me a part-time position. Thanks to my previous job as a bank clerk, I got a clerical job at a bank. It was my first office job in years, and I actually enjoyed it. Of course, it was stressful and came with a lot of responsibility, but it was much better than being stuck at home with my mother-in-law all the time. But my mother-in-law didn't like that I was working. Why work when Ken makes enough money? Maybe she's out looking for men. What kind of person thinks like that? She's an idiot, she would say. It's true that Ken makes a good salary, but since his mother moved in, our expenses have gone up, so we're not in a position where we can afford everything. Still, my mother-in-law told me I should give her an allowance for my part-time job, to make sure I wasn't spending it on men. When I refused, saying it wasn't possible, she went straight to Ken. That night, when Ken came home from work, he yelled at me just like before. "Are you having an affair?" "What? No, I'm not. My mother said you're using your part-time salary to pay for men." "I'm not doing that." "Why are you believing her lies? Just stop, then prove you're not guilty by giving her the allowance she wants." "Oh no." Then, my mother-in-law came in, smiling smugly. $500 a month. That much? That's what my mother says, so you need to give it to her. In the end, I couldn't fight them both. I had to give most of the money I earned from my part-time job to my mother-in-law as an allowance. To make things worse, she told the kids, "Your mother is a horrible adulterer," with a smirk on her face. Even my kids, who were in junior high, knew what that meant. It was terrible to lie like that. I felt it was so unfair, and it was ruining my life. Then, something happened that made everything even worse. I found out my husband was having an affair. All along, he had been accusing me of cheating, but it was him the whole time. This pushed me over the edge, and they say when you reach your breaking point, everything just comes pouring out. I didn't want to spend another second with these people, so I went straight to get the divorce papers. "I can't stay in this house after what you've done," I told my husband as I confronted him with the papers. He just laughed and said, "I don't want an old woman like you in my house." I knew he was planning to be with his lover after the divorce. He agreed to pay alimony and divide the property without hesitation. When the kids were asked where they wanted to stay, both of them said they wanted to stay in the house. My mother-in-law glared at me and said, I knew you liked your father more than this woman. A few days later, after completing all the paperwork, I packed my bags and left my in-laws' house. I told my mother-in-law I was leaving that day, bowing to her as a gesture of respect. She smirked and sarcastically said, "You've been a terrible wife and mother from the start." Then she added, "You're such a bad mother to leave your children." I didn't know how she could keep making fun of me. My kids, Josh and Amy, laughed at what she said. "See, even the kids are laughing at you. What a pathetic mother." Well, actually, the kids chose to stay here, so I'm not abandoning them. Oh, I see, so you're the sad woman who got abandoned by her children. Say whatever you want, but remember, from now on, you're the one in charge of everything here. Don't worry about me. Unlike you, I can handle everything. Alright then, I really must be going now. With that, I left my in-laws' house. I went back to my parents' house and threw myself into work. I asked my job to switch me to full-time and took the test to become a full-time employee. Thankfully, I got the position. Now I could take the kids with me, and I knew my mother-in-law would be worn out soon. Sure enough, about 3 months later, my mother-in-law called me. "Maria, help me out." "What's wrong?" "I need to take Josh to his soccer games and even help with training camps during the summer. Plus, I have to make his lunch for morning practice and wash his dirty uniforms every day. Amy also goes to cram school, so I have to drive her there and back every day, and I'm doing all the housework by myself." Ken says he's tired from work and doesn't help at all. If you're just going to complain, I'm hanging up. Wait, I'm calling because I need your help. Sorry, I'm already divorced, so this isn't my problem. Please don't say that. I'm not going back, but I understand that you can't handle everything on your own. I can't trust you with my precious children. I'll take them. That's what they want. What? They want to stay here. They just want you to understand how hard I've been working. What? Yes, when I decided to get a divorce, the first thing I did was talk to the kids. They said they'd stay with you at first. Amy said, "But that means grandmother and the others are just kicking you out." "Right, Mom?" Then Josh said, "I don't like that. We know how hard you work, Mom, so they decided to stay and show you how hard it is to live with you." I was so relieved to know that my kids were on my side. I made up my mind that I would work hard and make enough money to bring them home for good. Well then. Yes, everything went according to plan. I'm now a full-time employee, and I'll take the kids. Oh no. I hired a lawyer and demanded custody. Since the kids wanted to live with me, the court quickly agreed to transfer custody. When I told his boss about the affair, they were shocked. My ex-husband was moved to a department where he wouldn't be able to advance in his career. Because of this, he can no longer afford the mortgage on the house. My ex-mother-in-law was also ordered to get a job, which she hated. She was furious that her son was making decisions for her. Now, my ex-husband and ex-mother-in-law are blaming each other. They'll probably have to leave the house, but that's not my concern anymore. As for me, I rented an apartment and moved in with my children. They're growing up to be amazing kids. My daughter cooks, and my son helps with the laundry and cleaning. I want to be able to support them so they can do whatever they want in the future, so I'm going to keep working hard to earn money. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, please subscribe to the channel. See you in the next one.